as we grow up with tempos. It's typical, we have peace of mind. We like making merit, oh yes indeed, that is worthwhile. As simple as we can, humble life we plan. We make our land, the land of smiles. We share our love with family. We are a big tree under sunshine. Uncle helps grandma, nephew takes care of grandpa, father teaches grandson, so everyone looks so fine. Our food is plenty, not just curries, but recipes of all kinds. We cook with our heart, and we taste it with our smile.
Might go everywhere, seen here and there, been passing by. From mountains to sea, forest and trees, yeah, let me smile. Flowers are very nice, colors are very bright. There are reasons why we all smile.
We are all Thai, we all smile since we were born. Happiness is everywhere. Happiness we can share is love we care through our smile.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. The Goway Pro Industry Insider webinar series. Today, we are speaking to Steve Johnson, who is the marketing manager from Tourism Thailand. And apart from obviously talking about all the wonders and joys of Thailand, which I've been lucky enough to visit a couple of times in the last couple of years. One was with FAM, we're here with Goway, and the other one was attending a wedding. Some of my family members married a Thai lady. We went down to Thailand for the wedding, which was really cool. But I guess a flavor of the month at the moment, due to the HBO series White Lotus, is the fact that the recent series was based in Thailand. So that's brought new life to the country. Well, not new life. It's brought a broader spotlight to the country. Let's put it that way. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that, but more importantly about Thailand itself. As always, we like to get to know our guests. So Steve, can you just give us a quick background of who you are, how you became involved in tourism at first, and then in turn, how you've become involved with promoting Thailand?
Yeah, thank you, Don. Again, my name is Steve. I'm originally from the Caribbean, from the island of Dominica, and I started my career with Dominica, and here I am now with Thailand, and it's been close to 15 years. Thailand is an amazing destination. I've had an amazing 15 years with Thailand, learning a new culture, a new side of the world altogether, and a new product, which is truly amazing, truly inspiring. And so that's where I am, and that's who I am.
Nice. About where you are you literally, you're not in Dominica now, I wouldn't presume. That's a big...
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm actually based in New York City. Yes.
Oh, New York City. Oh, okay. Yes. More often than not, a lot of our representatives for the tourism boards are based out on the West Coast in LA. Yeah. So, yeah, nice to see. So just down the road from myself, I'm in Toronto. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, White Lotus has become, I must admit, I wasn't into the White Lotus series prior to it going to Thailand. I obviously watched for a whole lot of different reasons. One, we're having a conversation today. Two, we deal with Thailand. And three, my wife insisted that I watch it. So I did watch the series. It was very, very interesting. But do you have any behind the scenes, so to speak, or any information of why Thailand was chosen? Was something you approached the production team about, or they came to you? Is there any insight into why Thailand was the backdrop for the latest series?
Well, I think that there are many different answers to that question. I could answer it like a sales rep and say, yes, we approached them. But in reality, a lot of these film production companies, etc., they scout and they have their people that do, investigations, etc. I think what set Thailand apart from other destinations in Asia that they were looking at was the concessions that were offered by the government to people in the film industry, etc. That made Thailand that much more attractive to them, and so voila, we came out on number one. But it is definitely something that the government is looking at to make it even more attractive for those who are looking at Thailand as a film location. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, and having been there again when I was very young, and again recently, as I mentioned, the last couple of years, it has such a diversity in backdrop, particularly if someone's looking at it through a camera lens. There are so many different backgrounds and different looks to the country. So obviously a big highlight of the series was some of the accommodation and the beautiful properties on hand in Thailand, which we will get into as we get further into our conversation here. But for those who may, for our travel partners out there who may know very little about Thailand, other than the fact that, it was the backdrop for the recent White Lotus series, can you give us can you tell us where Thailand is located, please?
Of course. We're in the heart of Southeast Asia. So we're right there at the very southern tip of a lot of the Asian countries. We're bordered by, in the south, Malaysia, but we also have Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, and Cambodia that border with us. So there is quite a bit in the southern area, but we tend to be the central hub of Southeast Asia, and we're very proud of that.
Nice. When I did go, we flew from Toronto, as I mentioned, the home base. We went over Europe and then down through that way via India. It was the way we got there. Obviously, there are direct flights or flights available from the west and east coast. So can you give our audience a general overview of who the carriers are to get you into Thailand, direct or otherwise?
Yeah. Well, I think I first should start with our direct service from North America into Bangkok, which is the first in a very long time, and that's from Vancouver direct into Bangkok. It's seasonal, but we're very excited about that. I think it has opened up Thailand not only to the U.S. market but to the Canadian market as well, and so that is the only direct service that you have from North America into Bangkok, into Thailand. Okay. And there's good connectivity for those who are sending clients from the US. There's good connectivity from many of the major gateways like New York, New Jersey, Chicago, LA, Seattle, etc. So that you have very good connectivity from the major gateways, as well as some of the smaller gateways that service these major gateways as well. For those who are on the East Coast, of course, you have the option, depending on the airline. Most of the Asian carriers would definitely be, those that you would want to look at, as well as the major U.S. carriers as well, United, Delta, American, etc., that would have their code shares, etc. But you have two options. You can either go over the Pacific, depending on which is the gateway that you're going through to enter Thailand. So if you're going over the Pacific, you're probably going to places like Japan, Seoul, etc., and Hong Kong down into Bangkok and down into Thailand. And then you also have the option of going over the Atlantic. Some people choose to transfer in one of the European ports, or they can transfer in one of the Middle Eastern ports like Doha, Abu Dhabi or Dubai, depending on the carrier, the Middle Eastern carrier that you're using. So you have many flight options that will get you into Thailand. I would say flying time about door to door between 23 and 25, 26 hours, depending on, of course, the route that you choose. But once you get there, it's worth it.
Of course, 100%. Yeah, it is quite a long haul flight to get there, particularly if you're doing the stopover. I'm not sure if you mentioned, if you did, I didn't hear you. For the direct flight from Vancouver into Bangkok, who was that with?
That's with Air Canada, sorry. It's Air Canada, it's seasonal, and the flight duration is usually about 14 hours from Vancouver into Bangkok.
Well, there you go. So there's a huge time saver as well if time on a plane, which to most people it is an issue, is a concern. Yes. To you. Now, you mentioned into Bangkok. Is that the only international gateway in and out of Thailand, be it from North America or anywhere else?
Absolutely not. We have 6 major international airports. Bangkok, of course, is the busiest, located in the capital city of Bangkok. And then we have Phuket, which is the second busiest. But you also have options of flying direct into Koh Samui from Hong Kong or from Singapore, or flying direct into Phuket from many international gateways, because it's our second major gateway in Thailand. And then we also have direct service from Hong Kong and some of the other northern Asian countries into Chiang Mai, because Chiang Mai is an international airport as well. So you have those options. If your clients say to you that I absolutely want to avoid travel in and out of Bangkok, then there are options that your advisors can use in order to get their clients from point A to point B, with skipping whatever they don't want to enjoy.
Yeah, and that's important too, because my next question is in general, like, at least to me, in general terms, there are two areas of Thailand that most people will recognize, so to speak. There's the northern, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and then you have the southern area with all the islands and the beautiful coastal beaches. And with those international options from the north and the south, you don't necessarily have to go back into Bangkok to head home as well. So that's another good plus as well.
Yes, you don't. And even flying domestically between Chiang Mai and Koh Samui, Chiang Mai and Phuket, and sometimes even Chiang Mai and Krabi, you can avoid Bangkok completely, either using Bangkok Airways, Thai Smile, or one of the low-cost carriers that fly these routes as well. So you have many options in terms of flight connectivity.
Yeah, and that's the other good plus with Thailand. It's a rather large country from top to bottom, at least. And most people will want to see north and south, ideally, in a trip. And we'll touch on some details about that later. But yeah, the connectivity, so you don't have to keep hovering in and out of Bangkok. Now, there's nothing wrong with Bangkok. It's a really cool city. But to save time, and if you're not in there for the hustle and bustle, then, as Steve mentioned, there are lots of options to avoid it, not for any other reason than just to save time and focus on the other areas that you'd like to. So am I correct, though? Again, I sort of generalize there with Thailand. There's a north and south in general terms. Is that a fair way to divide the country up?
Well, I actually believe there is north and south, as you mentioned, but there's also central. So, for example, Bangkok is in the central central province of Thailand. And in addition to Bangkok, you have Ayutthaya, which is our second capital, and Sukhothai, which is our first capital. And those are great destinations. Sukhothai is about an hour's flight from Bangkok. And then, of course, Ayutthaya is just an hour and a half's drive from the city center. But they are technically in the central region of Thailand.
Okay. So is it fair to generalize, I use that word pointedly, generalize that the north would be more of your cultural jungle experiences, the south is generally beach, and of course central, as you've just highlighted, would be the more metropolitan? Is that a good generalization of the three different areas?
I think it's a good description of both the north and the south. The central parts tend to focus on, yes, Bangkok, the capital city, that's very urban, very cosmopolitan, very modern. But then you also have Sukhothai, which is in the central part, and that's very rustic, full of natural history. A lot of many of the UNESCO World Heritage sites are also there, very well preserved. And so those who are into natural history and historical artifacts and the restoration of all the various ancient 8th and 9th century ruins, definitely that would be the destination that we'd want to go to, which is Sukhothai, our first capital in the central part.
Okay. So with those three regions in mind and the three differences, again, I'm using general terms here because each area has its own little, specifics as well. It's not just jungle north, it's not just beach south, but for the sake of conversation, how much time should someone spend in each area, understanding the people from the States have less time than the Canadians, but even still, Canadians on average may have 2 weeks a year to dedicate wholly and solely to time away. So I guess I'm going to jump around here. Can you encompass all of Thailand in, say, 14 days? Would you suggest longer? Of course, if you had it, always longer, but is 14 days enough to get a true sampling of North, Central and South?
I absolutely think so. 14 days is typically what you'd find Canadian visitors or maybe even some European visitors spending in Thailand because there is so much to do. You mentioned that Thailand is quite a big country. It's about the size of Texas or
Hmm.
about the size of France. So it's big, but not that big,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, but there is a lot to do. And if you really want to leave Thailand with an authentic experience and to really connect, I think that you need time. And so I think 14 days is really an opportunity to take a deep dive into what Thailand has to offer. I would say for those in the US, 10 days is probably more like what the typical US traveler, minimum of 10 days. And I wouldn't suggest that anybody go to Thailand for less than 10 unless they wanted to do just one destination. So within 10 days, you can do 3 destinations, 3 nights in each destination. I think you can do that and have a good idea of what Thailand has to offer. But for a real authentic deep dive, I think 14 days is typical.
yeah. And as always, if you can extend or your clients can extend the time, all the better, because it is a long way. No argument. It's the same. It's the same conversation we have when people talk about the Pacific Islands or Australia. You're going a long way. If you can and budget allows, spend as much time there, do as much as you can, because Thailand has so much to see and do. On the more practical side of things, for a US or Canadian passport holder, are there any entry formalities, visas of that nature that they need to be aware of?
There are no visas required for those who are holding US and Canadian passports, and I think you're allowed entry up to 45 days. I would ask that advisors double check to make sure that I'm giving the accurate, but I presented maybe just a week ago and I did say 45, but you know, sometimes these things change. What
Yeah.
is new is there is a move by the government and it'll go into effect on the 1st of May that an immigration form will be done online, which will help to save time on arrival in Thailand. And that will be communicated through our tourist offices. I would assume that the Canadian would be communicating with the Canadians, and we likewise in the US will do our part. But I believe that airlines will also inform passengers of the new regulation of, I think it's called the T6 form, immigration online form. It's just a simple formality rather than doing it by hand. They're asking that you do it digitally so that it reduces the amount of time that one takes to process on entry into Thailand.
Right. Now, I must admit, even prior to this new procedure coming in, Bangkok, you mentioned it's a big city, big airport. The last couple of times I wouldn't say blown through, but we've gone through the immigration process very, very quickly. So if the form speeds it up even better or even faster, then it's, you will literally blow through immigration on arrival. Very good modern airport, very easy to get around, which leads into my next question. Sorry,
Don, sorry to interrupt. It's also important for people to understand that there is also, for those who are coming by flying business, obviously they're allowed automatically fast track, but it's a service that can be bought for your clients. So if you have a client that absolutely tells you, I don't want to wait, I'm arriving late, I don't want the possibility, then you should consider fast track. It's not that expensive, and in fact, it's affordable, and it takes away the hassle, particularly if you're arriving at a time, where you'd have a lot of flights coming in at the same time.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten about that service. So if anyone is booking their trip with us here at Goway and their clients are interested in that, or you should mention it to them, as Steve just mentioned it to me, make that offer and we can get that set up for you and in turn your clients. In regards to ease of travel around Thailand, what's the official language and the official currency that's used in Thailand, please?
Official language is, of course, Thai. However, English is widely spoken, particularly in the more well-known destinations like Bangkok, Phuket, Chiang Mai, etc. But even in the out areas, people do make the attempt to speak English and to communicate with English, particularly at the hotels. If you're going off the beaten path, really off the beaten path, then it may be a little bit more of a challenge. But it's typical that most people will have some knowledge of English. Our currency is the Thai baht, which fluctuates against the US dollar and even the Canadian dollar. So for every one Thai baht, you get between 30 and 35 Thai baht. And for every one Canadian, I think it's between 25 and 30. So your money clearly goes a long way in Thailand.
Yeah, it does. And if you don't have Thai baht on arrival, ATMs are at the airport for one and pretty much everywhere else to withdraw local currency if you want.
Absolutely.
US dollars can be used as well if need be, but Thai baht is the way to go. And again, it's easily accessible. You mentioned, or I mentioned Thailand's big. You gave the comparison of Texas or France. We mentioned in the early introduction about getting around, particularly by air. It's very easy. Lots of airports, international airports as well. But Thailand is also a backpacker's haven, so therefore independent connections and travel are also available, either booked directly or via Goway. And we made use of this using the ferry system, particularly in the south amongst the islands. So can you expand on like road, ferry, the buses, and even the train options to get around Thailand?
Well, I mean, they're definitely available. There's some people that will choose to travel between Bangkok and Chiang Mai by train, and you can literally go anywhere by train. And there are many guides, guidebooks that will. David Barrow, I think, is someone who lives in Thailand and has done extensive research on the whole railway system and getting around and seeing the various attractions by rail. So that's definitely an option. But I think that for those who are coming from this part of the world, we tend to, for obvious reasons, focus on the faster forms of transportation. And so typically you'll find that people will fly. However, those who are there for extended periods of time, they can use those options either by train, by car, whether it be self-driven or whether you hire a driver to do that, or you choose to use the bus service. I think maybe that's the option that I don't think I've ever come across a visitor who's given or asked about the bus service in Thailand. But you know what? It is available. I don't know how comfortable it would be, but definitely, there are bus services that are available.
Right, yeah, and I bring that up because my son was just recently in Thailand himself doing the whole backpacker vibe, and he used the bus services. And again, probably for the average Goway client, it's not something that we would necessarily recommend. It's an option, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. All the options that are available.
Absolutely, and you mentioned, and I forgot to expand about the ferry service as well. We have quite an extensive ferry service within Thailand as well, particularly in the south. To get from the mainland to Koh Samui, or to get from the mainland to many of the islands in the south as well, in the Andaman coast. You have very good ferry service. The key is to just make sure that you know the schedules, you buy your tickets on time, and that you can get to many of the islands. It's definitely an affordable way to travel. I've done it many times. I remember once having quite a ride between the mainland Trat province and the island of Koh Koot. It was during not so good weather, and we had quite a full boat. And so I really thought that day I was going to heaven, but nevertheless, I'm still here.
Yeah, and we use that ourselves when we travel, again, primarily amongst the islands. It's a good, affordable way. Very, very busy, very crowded. You got to drag your own baggage on and off, that type of thing. So again, it's an option out there, but the average Goway client probably wouldn't be looking at that unless they were down there on an extended stay. And of course, we can advise you on the schedules and the different things. Same with the buses, though we wouldn't recommend it only because it's just not the average style of the Goway client. Perfectly safe. My son did it, traveled all over Thailand. It was perfectly fine. And to Steve's question, was it comfortable? He's a 21-year-old. He said, yeah, Dad, it was okay. So you can gauge it based on that. Now, you mentioned self-driving. And again, the more I talk about it, the more I seem to have some connections with Thailand. A very good friend of mine, we met in Bangkok at the time. And these are school friends. And one of the other guys, he's married a Thai woman. They have some property and they drove down to this property. So again, on the assumption someone has more time to spend and they're in this more the independent mode of traveling, is self-driving safe? From a road condition, the way now people in Thailand dive very differently to the way they do in North America. But is it something you would recommend for a North American who like that type of travel style as self-drive?
That depends on the driver. Someone who
Definitely.
loves to drive, is experienced, then I would say yes, particularly in the north. Those who are not as experienced, I say that, look into hiring a driver. It's affordable in Thailand and it
Mhm.
takes the edge off.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. As an extension to that, safety in general in Thailand, a lot of people may have some preconceived ideas about Southeast Asia with safety, particularly in the big city like Bangkok. I have my experiences. I know my answer, but let's ask you as the expert, what is the advice that you give from a safety aspect of traveling around Thailand?
I would say, regardless of where you go in the world, you have to be smart, right?
Yeah, of
If
course.
you go to any destination looking for trouble, most likely you will find it. But trouble is not necessarily going to knock at your door in Thailand. I don't know what it is, but I feel very safe when I'm in Thailand. I have to remind myself, yes, you must put your stuff in the safe box. Yes, you must lock your door because it's just not something that I pay attention to when I'm in Thailand because I think that um, safety is something that is expected, right?
Yeah.
You just naturally feel safe. However, you can't be silly, right? You must always, take every precaution. But generally, Thailand is a safe destination. I say so because you find Thailand a great haven for female travelers, particularly solo female travelers. Or small groups of females traveling, etc. Thailand has become quite a destination for those small groups. And so I think that's indicative of the fact that generally people feel safe in Thailand. We also have this attitude of Mai Pen Rai, let it be, let everybody be, and let's respect everyone. And so I think typically that still holds true, particularly when you go into the upcountry parts that are not as busy, etc. The authenticity of and the kindness and hospitality of the people come out in an even bigger way. And so I feel that no one's out to harm you. In fact, I think people are very appreciative of the fact that people have come to visit and to experience and to go back and to share their memories. So I think generally, Thailand is a very safe destination in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and I would agree wholeheartedly with that. The point that Steve brought up about, common sense anywhere in the world is always suggested and advised. But our time, particularly on our latest trip, where we were doing a bit of everything, bit of sort of the backpacky ferries and whatnot through to the Goway organised private touring, myself and the family never felt in any danger or uncomfortable at any level at any time. So take those common precautions. Yeah. And Thailand is very, very welcoming. On that on that subject of feeling safe and comfortable, is Thailand a recommended LGBTQ plus destination?
Absolutely. I think that the community has had a relationship with Thailand long before the tourism authority decided to formalize its outreach to the LGBTQ plus community. In fact, when I first joined TAT 14 years ago, the director at the time, that was one of her missions, and that was to solidify an outreach to the community. It was the first tourist office to ever formalize an outreach, and it faced resistance. But we knew, and she knew, that Thailand was always a great destination for us. It's a destination that we feel safe in. It's a destination that accepts us. It's a destination, like I said, Mai Pen Rai. You come, you respect, you enjoy, and you leave, and you come back and visit us again. So it is a welcoming destination, not only for our community, but for every other community that chooses to visit.
Excellent. And it's really pleasant because I ask that question to most of our tourist board partners, and most countries are now, if they weren't, they're gearing that way. They're gearing themselves towards that. It's the acceptance, and many countries have always been very accepting of that. So that's always a positive in any shape or form. We mentioned north and south. We'll get, let's start with the north. As I generalize, north is more jungle oriented, for one of a better term, a better generalization. But you have Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai up there. This is where you'll probably have your elephant experiences, etc. So can you expand on the experiences someone can expect from visiting northern Thailand?
Totally different from Bangkok, for example, or even the south. I even if you can do elephant experiences, which is something that you mentioned, you can do it the length and breadth of Thailand. I naturally want to do it in the north because I feel that for some strange reason that in my mind it's more synonymous with the environment that we come from. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but nevertheless, the experiences and exchanges that I've had with these gentle giants has always been in the north, and so I naturally associate that activity with the north. There are also many other soft adventure activities that you can do, whether it's zip lining or river rafting, you name it. I think that if you go to a city like Chiang Mai, even if it's quite big, it still maintains a very authentic style and feel. Khao soi is a typical meal that you would have at lunchtime when you see people crowding around great little non-fancy places to have their khao soi. There's a sense of community there, and the old town with it's steeped in history. Doi Sutep, which is on the mountain, the giving of alms to the monks early in the morning, the exchanges that you can have, the food and fruit and vegetable markets, the flower markets, all of them are there, but on a smaller scale. And I think what really sets Chiang Mai apart as well is its food. It's very different from food in the central parts or even in the south. It tends to have a little bit more of an influence from India and Myanmar in terms of the types of curries that are used, etc. There is also difference in language, like in Bangkok you'd say Sawadi Kap, in Chiang Mai you'd probably say Sawadi Jiao. Even the style of dress, particularly the winter, is different because in the mornings and in the evenings it can be quite cool, and so the uniforms, for example, of the people that work in the northern region tend to be a little thicker during our winter season. Similarly, Chiang Rai, even a lot more slow than Chiang Mai is, but very unique. I think one of the highlights of the area is the Mekong. The Golden Triangle, where Laos meets Thailand and Vietnam, Cambodia. So it is definitely, a unique area to visit. You have some really great, I think one of the best museums that I visited in Thailand, the Opium Museum, or the House of Opium Museum, located in Chiang Rai, just across the street from the Anantara Golden Triangle, which is one of the very popular resorts in the area.
Yep.
And one of the two resorts in Chiang Rai, for example, where you can do elephant exchanges, because it's not as common in Chiang Rai, elephant exchanges, as it is in Chiang Mai. But it is really great, history of opium, the trade, and even what opium is used for today. I think that that level of experience is very authentic. The food in the area, just the vibe, the fruit and vegetables, driving along, the temples that you will see in Chiang Rai, for example, you have the White Temple and then you have the Blue Temple. The history that surrounds these temples is truly amazing. And then you also have interesting attractions like the Black House and the kind of hotels that you have in particularly Chiang Rai, more boutique oriented, smaller, very intimate, similarly with the restaurants as well. In Chiang Mai, for example, it's a little bit more bustling, and so you have probably a wider array of food than you would have in Chiang Rai. But you definitely have international cuisine if that's what you're looking for in Chiang Mai, along with really good authentic restaurants, etc. Very unique and interesting. Wine bars, coffee bars in the area as well. Lots of riding through, rice paddies, stopping at local temples or local coffee shops to have a coffee with the locals, exchange, and then move on. Those are many of the activities that you can do. You could do many of those things by a tuk-tuk as well. or rickshaw. So those are authentic modes of transportation that are typical of the area that you can use to add to the experience that you have in these areas. So I love the area. Both of them I've been many times, and I definitely think that anyone going to Thailand would benefit from a visit to either of them.
Yeah, I can hear I can hear the passion in your descriptions of the things in the north. A question for you, from my experience, again limited to compared to yours. It's in the north too that you will have more opportunities, or a greater opportunity to have any cultural immersions, like visiting the hill tribes, the opportunities to visit the monks in their temples. Maybe the latter one you can do pretty much throughout Thailand, but I just found that was, I don't know, easier for one of in the north. Is that fair?
Yes, I think that it's more common, and it's something that a lot of people who are visiting the north partake in. For example, in Chiang Mai, we go to the foothills of Doi Sutep, which is the temple I had made mention of earlier. And the monks leave their monasteries very early in the morning, and they come into the towns and the villages, and they walk by certain areas. And the foothills of Doi Sutep is one of the areas that they walk by. And so many, DMCs, etc., would congregate with their clients in that area so that you can do almsgiving. And I think that is really a special activity that you can do, very spiritual. But it can be done all over Thailand, regardless of where you are, it can be done. All you need to do is to ask your hotel whether or not they offer alms, and 9 times out of 10 they will tell you, and they will make sure that the opportunity is made available to you, because it's done by most hotels, and if not all hotels in Thailand would arrange some level of almsgiving. But I like it in the north.
Right. Yeah. Most people, as I started at the beginning, the north is jungles, the south is beach. So therefore, people when they look to southern Thailand, it's obviously beach is the main thing on their mind, or it's the main highlight that's presented in the marketing particularly. And in turn, it also leads to a reputation of a party area. A lot of backpackers go down there as well. Now, my experience was that's there, of course, it is. You have all your full moon parties in Koh Phangan and things like that. But there is a flip side to that. There's some very luxurious accommodation. There's some very chill areas, downtime. So you can have a party vibe. You can have a very downtime vibe combination. Lots of things to do as well. But it is a fair statement to say south is the beautiful, stunning beaches that most people would associate Thailand with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said before, south is in the Gulf or in the Andaman Sea, because we have 2 areas of south. We have the Gulf and the Andaman coast. So I absolutely agree with you. And you could be on Koh Phangan, which is the island where the full moon party happens every month. And you could be on the other side of the island and never even know that there was a full moon party going on there. So it definitely is not something, but like I said, if you go to Phuket or if you go to Koh Samui looking for a good time and a party, it's there to be found, right? But there are also many, many areas that are very peaceful and tranquil and very chill. And so I think that you're correct in the sense that the South is mostly about relaxation, the sun, the sand, and the sea.
Yeah, and where my nephew got married, I can't remember the name of the hotel. It's one of those sort of the big chains of Fairmont or something similar, but it's on a cliff overlooking the ocean on Koh Samui, but in an area where, as you just said, there could be parties happening all over Koh Samui, which there often are. But this particular hotel was just this little oasis of tranquility, stunningly beautiful venue. So again, and it was just a short drive into town if you wanted to get or into whatever tickles your fancy. Of course, with the south and the beaches, there's a lot of water-based activities, and probably one of the ones that drew us to southern Thailand, other than the wedding, was the chance to go diving. So I know that's a big option throughout. Can you quickly expand on that?
Well, yeah, I'm not a diver, but I've soul dive when I worked with another company, in fact, Dominica, and I know that divers look for certain things. Clarity of water, marine life, etc., preservation, sustainability. I would say that in the Gulf of Thailand is probably where you will find the best diving, particularly around the islands of Koh Phangan, Koh Tao, Nang Yuan, etc. I think that a lot of people who are really serious about diving will go to these areas. Not that you can't find good diving in the Andaman Sea. However, I think that those really good dive spots would be in the Gulf of Thailand, where you have good clarity of water. Very often the whale sharks, they're seasonal, of course, but you can definitely have a chance to view them. Whales, dolphins, etc., and good marine life. I think that I won't sit here and think and say that there is no bleaching, etc., that happens, but I think that a lot of that is still very much in the Andaman area, and less in the Gulf of Thailand. But we are a good dive destination.
Yeah, for sure. Two of my boys got their dive ticket when we were in Koh Tao, and it was a beautiful little resort. Basic resort, off for the dives was fantastic, very easy, very affordable as well for those who may want, because a lot of people from North America will go to your home area, the Caribbean, to get their dive licenses and stuff like that. But if they're interested, you can do all your in-class work here in North America. When you land in Thailand, you can do your water stuff and then be certified within a couple of days in one of the most beautiful areas in the world to dive. Shopping throughout Thailand, I know from experience there's a lot to buy. Is there anything that's sort of classical Thai that someone should look at buying when they're in the country?
That's a tough question. It all depends on preference, right? But
yeah, of course, yeah.
A number of things. I love Benjerong ceramics. There's a history behind it, and I think a piece of Benjerong is a really nice, authentic piece of handicraft, made in Thailand. It has history behind it, etc. And I think that a piece of that, whether it be for yourself or a friend or a family, is definitely something that you want to leave Thailand with. I think we're also known very well for our fabrics,
yes,
particularly the silks. A visit to Jim Thompson, for example, whether it be in Bangkok at the museum, and there's a great shopping area, or many of the Jim Thompson houses where you can go and buy from fabric all the way down to neckties. Definitely something that I think that people enjoy shopping for. If people are coming because they're into the designer names and brands, definitely that's there as well. But I think people are looking more for the authentic,
yes,
particularly in the night markets. Some great artists, really some interesting finds that you have to dig for, right? Because there's a lot of junk, but there's
yep.
a lot of good once you breeze past that junk, and there's some really authentic handicraft that I've stumbled upon. Some really good and affordable, silk scarves, etc. that I've been able to get for gifts for people, etc. Even dried fruit is something now that I never leave Thailand without. Dried mango and many other fruits that we enjoy there that we would like to take back with us, and those are some of the options. But I think that there are so many other options in terms of wellness products that you can find there, whether it be lotions or potions or whatever you want. There's so much there. They're great fashion designers, growing fashion scene in Thailand, and definitely I think that you have a lot of options in terms of shopping.
Yeah, for sure. There are the night markets in Bangkok, well, everywhere, but they're famed in Bangkok. Excuse me, you can do a day trip out to the floating markets, which are markets, obviously. Again, it's a bit touristy now, but still, there's good stuff to buy. And as Steve said, there's a lot of junk out there as well. But if you look hard, it's affordable, nice silk. I came back with silk scarves and some these sort of pants for my wife and her friends and stuff like that. So very, very affordable as well. Now, you mentioned wellness, which is a nice segue. Obviously, in the White Lotus series, a lot of it's based around the wellness and finding one center, taking when you get away from the actual true storyline of the show. So it goes without saying that Thailand, one, is known for, and by extension, obviously offers really good wellness opportunities, be it in the north or be it central or be it in the south.
Yes. And I think that people don't quite understand the wellness offering in Thailand. I mean, every hotel in Thailand will offer, a, a spa where you can have great massages, whether it's a traditional Thai massage, etc. But I think that our hotels have truly stepped it up a notch, and so you have these wellness retreats that you can go to, whether it's Koh Samui, Phuket, or even in Bangkok, where you check in. Hua Hin, for example, you check in and you have a specific agenda of what you'd like to achieve, whether it be weight loss, whether it be detox of some form, whether it be electronic detox, whatever. There's so many options for wellness that you can find. In fact, we've done fam trips where we have spent a few nights at these wellness retreat centers. And the advisors were quite amazed. Every meal, for example, we stayed at Chivasam, and every meal that they had was no more than 100 calories, regardless of whether it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So clearly you see that people go there with a set agenda, that they want to do this. If you're going there and you're expecting to, have great massages during the day and then go out to a fabulous dinner and have great wine, then that's not necessarily the retreat for you. You would be staying more at a traditional hotel that has a great spa, but at the end of the day also has all the frills and fancies that you want as well. But in particularly the Kamalaya, for example, in Samui, or Chivasam in Hua Hin, those are definitely areas where if you are going with a specific focus in mind, a specific objective, then those are the areas that you go to.
Right. So in summary, wellness can be what everyone thinks it is, as you mentioned, as you introduce this as, a nice hotel with the occasional massage and a spa treatment, or you can get right into it and be very specific and go to a particular resort or facility which will be very hardcore in regards to what you want to achieve from a wellness point of view.
Exactly.
Right. Nice. On the flip side of that, the wellness and chilling to a degree, you did mention adventure options. So we've touched on diving, some rafting and stuff like that. Are there any other adventure activities that you would like to highlight for Thailand?
A few. There's in the south, in Krabi, there's rock climbing, and you don't have to be an expert or know anything about rock climbing, but it's definitely for the novice all the way up to the advanced. And so that's very popular. In season, you also have river rafting that can be done, particularly in the north, but it, of course, has to be within season. There is also Muay Thai, which is our national sport, and a lot of people do it here in North America and also come to Thailand to either train at clubs, etc., or to just have an experience. And that's something that we've seen a lot of hotels, regardless of whether they're 5-star down, we've seen incorporating into their programs as well, because Muay Thai is very popular. So those are some of the things absolutely you can do among the many other things that are available.
Now, I forgot to ask you at the beginning of our conversation, and you've mentioned a couple of things that are seasonal, the whale sharks, rafting, etc. A key question for anyone who's not used to selling Thailand, has never sold it before: when is the best time to go? When is a high season? When is there a low season?
Well, I get that question a lot. When is the best time? And it's from November through March, April of the following year. I find that the weather, the length and breadth of Thailand is always generally very good. Now, if you have clients that are traveling in our summer period, for example, and are insistent on going to the beach, I think I mentioned earlier, if they were going to Thailand in August, for example, and they said, oh, I want to go to Phuket, you would suggest to them that they would probably want to consider going to Samui, because Samui enjoys different weather pattern, which is sunny, and Samui and Phuket is in monsoon season. So even if we're year-round, you have to know where to go when.
Right. Okay.
As I also mentioned, go ahead.
No, after you.
Our summer season is from March through May, and then our monsoon season is from June through October, November, and then our winter season is from December through, I would say, February, where the temperature is a little lower, humidity as well, and so it makes for a more comfortable environment in the outdoors.
So when your client asks you, talking to our outside advisors here, about the best time to go, You can use Steve's generalization again, the sort of November through to March. But as he mentioned, there are certain areas which will have different, let's say, microclimates. So speak to your destination specialist and he or she will be able to advise if the time they want to go to a set, this is more in the south, island or region is the right time to go. And then you can make adjustments based on that if need be. You mentioned Muay Thai, and a lot of people in North America do that, are into it. If someone sells groups out there and they have a group of Muay Thai fans out there, is Thailand a good groups destination, be it just for basically numbers of people attending conferences or a group of people with a specific interest, be it wellness, be it Muay Thai, be it maybe some conservation work, working with elephants? Again, I'm just throwing examples out there to ask my question of, is Thailand a good groups destination?
Absolutely, yes. A very good groups destination. So for you had a group of people that were interested in Muay Thai, through your DMC partner, obviously through Goway, you can arrange for Muay Thai classes, whether it be at a local club or whether it be at the hotel. So that's definite. And if they wanted to take it up a notch and they wanted to go to the Muay Thai stadium to view a match, a professional match, that's also possible as well. Obviously, you would have to check the schedules, etc. And that stadium is quite new, and so it has various levels that you can view those matches. So you can go all the way up to the private box, with food, etc. So it's quite a modern state-of-the-art stadium that focuses exclusively on Muay Thai, and it's become quite a tourist attraction in Thailand as well. What was the other part of your question? I'm sorry.
I just use Muay Thai as an
yes.
example, but just, anyone has a group, let's say they have a group of yoga enthusiasts or, again,
Absolutely.
conservationists, getting that organized within the Thailand structure of resort capabilities, etc. So you're basically saying, yes, it can be done with Thailand.
Very doable, whether it be for wellness, whether it be for, a small group of women traveling. We've seen that quite popular right now. Small groups, people traveling, rekindling friendships, etc. It's the perfect destination for that. There's a lot of activities to cater for small groups.
Wonderful. Beautiful segue to the accommodation question, because in the White Lotus series, there is a small group of women, 4 of them, who are, I think from memory, they're rekindling friendships, exactly to your point. But the accommodations used in the series, I believe one is Anantara, the other one is the Four Seasons in Phuket. And of course, what's highlighted there are stunning properties, which anyone can book. And Goway does have a couple of itineraries based around that. Lotus Experiences, we're calling them. I think it's the Four Seasons in Phuket, we have one, and we have a more, let's say, affordable one at some other lodges. But can you give us a quick overview of accommodation options within Thailand, north to south?
Yeah, absolutely. The key here is there's something for everyone in Thailand. I know that the White Lotus focused on some super high-end properties like the Four Seasons and Koh Samui,
Koh Samui, sorry.
Anantara Mai Khao on Phuket, and I think there were a number of scenes at 2 of the Anantara properties in Samui, etc.
Yes.
But there's so many other price points that are available, not only in Samui, but the length and breadth of Thailand that are affordable and that will allow any budget to really have a good experience in Thailand. And so I think those are some of the selling features of Thailand as a destination, is that we focus on affordable luxury, If it's not the Four Seasons because it's not in your budget, there is absolutely something at a 5-star level that is there for you, and that is one of the beauties, I believe, that your Goway specialist will relay to you when selling Thailand to you.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the key thing that Stephen brought up was there's something for everyone, from the backpacker all the way through to those who have time and really want to indulge themselves. And again, some of the examples of Anantara and the Four Seasons. Now, I stayed at an Anantara up north, and it was beautiful, not crazy out of the budget either. And it was a stunning property. a complete aside here. You said you've been involved with Thailand for 15 years. It sounds like you've traveled there many times. Do you speak any Thai yourself?
Nick Noi, very, very little.
Nick Noi, very little. Okay, fair enough. So before we say goodbye to Stephen and Thailand for the short period of time, is there anything exciting coming up for Thailand, be it new properties, new events, new services, anything like that that's on the horizon?
Well, there's always something happening in Thailand. We just finished our Songkran festivities around our Thai New Year, which happened around April 13th. And then, of course, at the end of the year, it coincides with the lunar calendar. You have Loi Krathong, which is the Festival of Light. And it is celebrated the length and breadth of Thailand. But the real epicenter, I believe, is in Chiang Mai and Sukhothai. And that's when the beautiful lanterns are released into the sky. I think a lot of people would have seen an image like that. And always in between, there are always little festivals going on in different parts and provinces of Thailand. And so it's important for those who are selling Thailand to do research and to ask those questions, right? So that you can align what's happening with possibly the preferences of your client. And it's so important for your DMC partners as well to keep you so abreast of what's going on, no matter how small the activity is, because you never know what client would be attracted to it. But there is so much going on throughout Thailand. We haven't even touched on the eastern side of Thailand, where you have the famous food. It's really, really known for its papaya salad and all the variations of it, etc. It's an area that's not very well traveled to. A lot of people don't realize that 80% of Thailand is still undiscovered by those who are coming from the outside. And so there's so much more to be discovered in Thailand. And so we invite everyone to come and to color their own rainbow in the colors that they want to use and make it all fun. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Again, with most countries, particularly Thailand, there's so much to see and do. And again, we have focused in on what most people would expect, at least on a first trip, north and south. But as Stephen mentioned, there's a central, which I knew existed, but not in the capacity that Stephen's highlighted for us today, nor that the East is there to be explored and not as much, and that 80% of the country is not explored by a traveler. So that's very interesting in itself. So for those listening, again, if you haven't watched the White Lotus series, even if it's not your thing, I got to say, the concept is not really my thing. My wife loved it, but the way it packages and highlights Thailand is stunning, and it's worth watching for that alone. If you just want to get a good feel for, again, the higher levels of what Thailand can offer, but just the general vibe, it's a land of smiles. That's, I think, brought through very nicely too in the show itself. And for those who are interested, for those who may have clients come to them, and this is what we all hope, both the tourism board and Goway, that through the series that people ring you up and say, oh, Thailand looks beautiful, send me there. Goway has 2 itineraries based around it, and they're called Thailand Lotus Escape, Bangkok, Koh Samui, and Phuket. It's an 11-day trip for about 5,000 Canadian. So it's about $3.8 US roughly. That's the more sort of on the more affordable properties. Now, if someone wants to do it as they see in the show, then we have that as well. It's called Luxury Thailand Lotus, Bangkok, Koh Samui, and Phuket, and that's retails a little bit higher at about 28,000 Canadian or 25,000 ish. And I'm US. I'm just ballparking the conversion rate there. But you can see, to Stephen's point, if you want the high-end luxury, it's there. If you want the more affordable, it's there as well. So check those out on our website. Stephen, is there anything else you would like to leave our listening audience with before we say goodbye?
Yes, just to thank all those who have been good partners of Thailand over the years. Particularly want to thank Goway and everyone that works with Goway. I think that Goway offers a great talent product and has been committed to Thailand for many, many years. And I think that anyone who's traveling to Thailand through a Goway package or with a Goway package is really going to experience a good quality talent experience and have good things to say about it. And so we thank Goway for its continued support of our destination, and we look forward to greater things ahead.
Excellent. And we thank the Tourism Board because they've always been a great partner for us, because Thailand has been and continues to be a very focal point for our Asia product. I don't like using that word product, but that's it's a focal point. A lot of people will ask us on a first-time trip to Asia, Thailand will be their go-to, and the Tourism Board have always been supportive of us in spreading the word of the joys and wonders of Thailand. I can't recommend enough. Again, it's fortuitous that I happen to have been there a couple of times in the last couple of years. It is a beautiful country. It is the land of smiles, truly. It's not just a marketing tag. It is very, very welcoming, very friendly, stunningly beautiful, stunningly diverse. It's a long way to get there, but really it's easy to get there. And we didn't touch on, there's lots of country combos you can do as well. It doesn't just have to be Thailand when you're hitting the area. So that's another option again. So I'd like to thank everyone, as always, for listening in today. We appreciate your time. Stephen, thank you very much for your time today. As always, we appreciate your time and support. And to everyone out there, thank you very much, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, everyone.